am the Lord. Nelson, that is. Quite shocking.
This is Danielle Weber, and you're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord. Nelson, that is.
Yeah. Perfect.
I nailed it. Even Alessandra's like, yeah, you did.
Don't hide it, don't fight it. They've got us by the throat. Don't hide it, don't fight it. Don't tell me you don't know. Our time is bleeding out. Our voices breaking down. Ignore the violence, mirror and smoke. Betray the silence, wither and choke. Our time is bleeding out. Our voices breaking down. Don't leave me feel for a swallow this whole. Paying the ransom by the throat.
Sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, rockers and rebels, it is yours truly, the big guy with the big show, the Lord. Nelson, that is, holding it down as only I can on Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network with 5 Royals ENT. And you already know how we do what we do, bringing you the real, the raw, and the ridiculously talented from every corner of the music universe. Yeah. And today we've got something special, some special individuals, a band that blends haunting melodies, powerful vocals, and undeniable energy. They're carving out their own lane in the alternative rock scene with passion, style, and a sound that hits you deep in your soul. And no. Deeper than what you're thinking, man. Most definitely. They're on point. So without further ado, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome for you the phenomenal band known as Raviner. What's going on, young lady, young man? What's up with
Thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
What an intro.
We got to do what we got to do. You know, going out there listening to your catalog and everything. We got to give the utmost respect to you, most definitely. So, my first question always is, where are you from?
Yes. So we're based in Nashville. All of us, except for Christian, are transplants.
Transplants?
Yeah. So I'm from Florida originally.
Really?
Yes. Our guitarist, Nick, is from Ohio, Cleveland area. And Jordan, our bassist, is from DC.
Oh, wow.
We all moved to town for music careers and to learn and grow in our careers. But Christian is actually from Tennessee, from Nashville. Yeah, he never lets us forget.
Christian, you're right, too. You're right. So what's the best thing about being in Nashville and doing what you're doing?
So for me, unless you let yourself get comfortable, you can never fully rest on your musical laurels.
Right.
You're always going to meet somebody better. You're always going to meet somebody that knows something more than you do, not just musically, but about the business.
Right.
You're always being challenged. And I think the challenge within that is to learn how to embrace that journey and not let it crush you. Because I think a lot of people do that when they move here and then they can't take it.
Right.
You have to always be challenged.
And it's always been like that too. Yeah. But in the last, I'd say, what would you say? I mean, I've been in this circuit probably since what, 09?
09.
And, been in Nashville or Nashville adjacent, in the greater Nashville area, if you will. And I mean, it's always been like that. But now here we are since probably what I was saying, like 2013, 14.
A lot of changes.
It's grown.
Right.
It is its own hub. It is like it's another LA, Atlanta kind of deal. It's its own hub. So you never know who you're going to meet and run into. And it's a very humbling experience for sure.
I got you. Yeah, one of my good friend of mine, he plays drums for Chase Rice. His name is Jeremy. And of course, he moved to Nashville also. And then another producer I know, Will Power, he moved from Atlanta to Nashville to produce and do his thing. So yeah, definitely Nashville has that scene, most definitely that. And there's a lot of people there of all genres. It's just not country music, you know, it's all genres. So that's really, really dope. So what was the genre of choice in your households growing up?
You go.
Ooh.
That's a question.
Man.
You go.
I grew up on so many different things. I was raised by my mom, my aunt, and my grandmother growing up in the household. And so there was like this like collective things in music. My aunt was the one that really introduced me to God rest all their souls. And she really introduced me to a lot of like alternative music.
Okay.
And a lot of like R&B stuff too. R&B and pop and 80s pop and all this and that. You know, at the time I was like, you know, that was fresh because I was, you know, I'm 33. Ugh.
You're just a baby.
But
I'm not playing my age.
You guys are just the babies, just babies.
Yeah, but no, it was fresh when I was young, all that stuff, you know, all like a lot of alternative music. My mom was really into like, you know, Billy Joel and the Beatles and stuff of that nature. And then I just kind of just like, you know, grew up on that and then, you know, my friends influenced me, you know, then, you know, had a cool weird, you know, neighbor that would introduce me to stuff like Slipknot and Marilyn Manson and all that stuff, and that got blended in. But yeah, it really started from just kind of just a lot of alternative and just a whole a lot of everything.
I got you.
Yeah, so
yeah, so for me, I had I would call it a very juxtaposing mix. So I grew up very Christian conservative in my influences.
Okay.
I'm still a lady of faith, but I joke about I'm a Christian who curses. But I grew up with a lot of like gospel music. He liked it. A lot of gospel music, a lot of Christian contemporary music, but then a lot of typical Gen X stuff. My parents are Gen Xers, so there was a lot of like Alanis Morissette and Pearl Jam and Creed and all that kind of stuff. So I think that rock influence was very early for me. And then of course, you know, like Christian was saying, you know, once, you know, you get a little older, you start finding your own way. But that's what my upbringing looked like. It was kind of that juxtaposition. But I think that's what honestly bleeds into Raviner, because we have that kind of spiritual, soulful, deep side to us, but then we're rock and rollers at heart. So
Indeed. I love it. And yes, and you can hear it in your music, most definitely. Most definitely, young lady, indeed. So how old were you when music became a part of who you are, and when did you know you had a talent musically?
Do you need me to go?
Go ahead. Take it away.
Well, for me, I started on the piano when I was really young.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, music and expression until I was 18. I went through a series of kind of traumatic events, namely a major surgery when I was 13, 14. And right after that's when I started writing songs. And so it really wasn't until teenage years, there was like, I don't know if it was ever like, I have talent. It was more like, music is everything. This is happening now. I'm writing now. I want to learn other instruments. I want to play with other people. I want to be a musician.
Right.
That's really what it was about. Not that I'm egoless or something, but I don't think it was ever like, I have talent. No, I was just like, music's my thing.
Yeah, but when did you discover when did that voice, that beautiful voice, when was it like, listen, you had to say, or somebody had to tell you like, hey, you sound really good.
Well, the funny thing is I was scared to death to sing in front of anybody. until I was 13. I think I'm trying to remember. I got a couple of little solos at the church or at my school, and I think I started getting brave.
Right.
And then just step by step, I came out of my shell. And of course, I had a lot of encouragement. My mom's a singer.
Okay.
She was always encouraging, continues to be encouraging. So I had a lot of supportive family.
Okay, so they knew. You had to get on board with it, but they knew already.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. They knew. Well, what about you, Christian?
I guess I don't know. Ever since I can remember. I almost want to say popping my collar, but
Pop it, bro. Pop it.
But now, I just remember when I was a little kid, I would always dance and just something. I don't know. I was dancing, acting like I was playing guitar, acting like I was playing keyboard.
Showy.
Yeah, just trying to be, I was being silly, and then I don't know, just a lot of, just I've always had that deep connection with music, and I just wanted to like see if I could play an instrument. I had the rhythm in me. I had just natural rhythm, and I don't know where it came from. I don't know.
Yeah, because you don't have that in your family.
Yeah, there's not many.
I was going to ask you that, but you just said that you had the rhythm in you. Not everybody has that.
It's true.
Not everybody has that. I don't care who you are. Not everybody has rhythm.
No, you're right. I mean, you're not lying. Some people either got it or they don't got it.
Exactly right.
Right, but no, I don't know. So my mom like got me a keyboard for Christmas. I was like 7 years old. I was sitting there playing with all the little controls and all this and that, and I'm like, it never went anywhere. It ended up in the garage sale, the yard sale or something. Then I got into like 8th grade, and everybody's wanting to be like, their favorite band, and I started, and we're at the time we're really into like My Chemical Romance, me and some, like emo friends, whatever, the high school days, elder emos, hashtag elder emos, but no, we were all like trying to create a band, and I wanted to play guitar, but I could never like get my fingers at the, you can't see through the camera, but I'm like, I don't have these like monstrous hands that can bend and do all that guitar and, on the neck. But I remember, and then that kind of went away after, a little while. And then I started listening to this band called Slipknot, and I was just in love with the drummer, Joey Jordison. I wanted to be like him. And then so I begged and begged and begged and begged my mom to buy me a set of drums, and she refused, and she refused, and she refused, and she finally gave in.
Oh, man.
And here we are.
So the drums called you. You started playing drums. And it's
But I always had it in me, but I just didn't know. It took me a while to how to really, figure out how to express that, and then I guess it took Joey Jordison from Slipknot to really bring that out of me.
Yeah.
And then as the years went along, then I developed my own internal self with all, with that and my own, thing. And then here we are. So no regrets in that department for sure.
Of course not. Then you
except for
Slipknot, Joey, and it's just, amazing. The show was crazy, the visuals, if you wanted to play drums and you're looking at that, you're like, wow, it was definitely amazing, no doubt. So are you guys all self-taught, or did you ever go to school? Did you ever take lessons or anything?
I took a month's worth of lessons from this guy named Chad Huntington, I think was his name. And he was just this like, nerdy dude. And he was just phenomenal gospel chop jazz drumming guy. This dude was phenomenal. When I went, my mom took me to do, to go to lessons at this little music shop here in Columbia called Hughley's at the time.
Right.
And I'm sitting there, I'm just like, oh my God, he made me like not want to play drums anymore. But I thought it was so cool. It's like, oh my God, I'll never be able to, oh my God. He was just, showing me things, and he gave me some kind of rudimental kind of fills and phrases to use. And then, then my mom couldn't afford it anymore. So it was just a month, and then I guess, yeah, 1 month of lessons, and then the rest is like the rest of the
Doing it.
19 years has been self-taught.
Yeah.
Watching my favorites, just from watching videos, listening to my favorite records, and just taking a little bit of advice and stuff from the local guys that I've been on, I've shared stages with. And you know another big influence of mine was this guy. He was I always looked up to this guy named Casey Canan. He really um uh definitely influenced me, and always had something, some type of shield to pass on to me to help me. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, mainly 90% self-taught.
Yeah, that you once you got that foundation, you were off and
Yeah.
running, man.
Mhm.
It was
Yeah.
there was no stopping you. How about you, young lady?
Okay, so my story was a little different because I started on piano, so I'm classically trained pianist,
Awesome.
and
Yeah.
I still work as a pianist.
Really?
But I did that all through college, and I studied music in college. So
Okay.
I have a music degree. That's from Florida, and I studied in Nashville too. And I teach myself. And so for me, I enjoy that because as I teach, I'm also continuing
Right.
my education.
Yeah.
And occasionally, when quite frankly, because it's expensive in Nashville, but when I can, sometimes I'll still work with like a vocal coach or things like that when I can.
Yeah.
But to me, no matter what, if you have formal education or not, especially if you're living in like a very huge entertainment
Mhm.
city, like I think the goal is to keep learning and to be open.
Indeed. So
And then,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, no, I was just going to say, like Christian kind of touched on it, but I mean, experience is the greatest teacher. It's just
Indeed.
the more you play shows and the more you work with different people, and that's how you keep honing your craft.
Right. Well, let me ask you a question about that. Um, so being that you went to school, because I have a few really good friends of mine, like they
Yeah.
might be jazz guys or one plays the bass and they went to school. Do you think that has boxed you in any way about being open? Because you just said open. When you said open, that's why I asked that question. Because sometimes you're just like in this box. My one guy, Tony, he's a jazz purist and he's just always in this box. And I was just like, man, you got to come outside that box sometimes and just
You
think about
really
what else
do.
is going on. So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
Totally get what he's saying.
I
Yeah.
see that here too. And it's no judgment. Everybody has their own thing. I've been very blessed in my life to, it's like, okay, I've had classical training, but I was also highly involved in church. And
Mhm.
like that was a whole other world of music. And
Right,
that was
right.
a whole other kind of set of skills. And then I was starting to play with my friends
Mhm.
and bands. So that was a whole thing. So, but that was also my choice. I think I could have been like what you're saying, had been like, okay, no, I'm only doing this thing. But I think for me, naturally, I've always had a craving to be playing in different settings,
Right.
different genres, different outlets, because you're going to learn something from
Mhm.
all. So yeah, I think it's a choice to answer your question. You can
Good
choose.
choice. I like that. Well, I can just tell you're a creative also. And not saying that he wasn't. Quick story.
Sure.
He was a band director at this high school. And like the kids, man, are they your age now? Probably. See, I'm older now, so forgive me. I'm just laughing because my kids are like you guys' age. So I have kids your age, a little bit older too. But he, was telling them they need to do this and do that, and do that. And of course they got to play the scales in certain music that are the standards. But they
Yeah.
still wanted to play other music also. And I was telling them, like, man, just allow them to play a little bit of that so they can do what they do over here for you. But
Yeah.
he just was so, regimented, like this is how it's got to be. And they let him go.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
because it was a big thing. The parents and the kids and all of them. I mean, they came. It was a big thing. And I was like, young man, I was like, I tried to tell you, man. But anyway, he's a great, super talented young man. Super
Sure.
talented.
But yeah, I think it's an attitude thing. And I
Mhm.
wonder too, because I've thought about this before too. I wonder if we get in that mindset of maybe it's like a protection thing. It's like, okay, no, it's this way.
I can understand that.
Instead of being open to like creative risk or open to input from other people that might be better than you.
Right. Because it's music. It's freedom. It's music, So no, I get it. So now this question here is this: what is the best venue to perform in Nashville?
Oh, Christian, I was gonna let you go. You have all.
It used to be the Rutledge.
Tell them what it used to be.
That's long. It used to be, in my opinion, what it used to be was. Well, that's irrelevant. It used to be the Rutledge back in the day, but that's all by that ship's done sailed. In my opinion, my favorite place and what I think most people probably. Ooh, that's tough for me. Actually, it is tough. Exodus always solid.
Exodus is great.
Exodus always solid.
I liked Vinyl Lounge. There's been some new spots opening up that are pretty cool.
Yeah, I was going to ask that also. Are these older spots or new venues?
Yeah, like in terms of like institutional venues, I'd say Exodus is probably the best one, like the best independent music venue. I love Third and Lindsley. Raviner would never play Third and Lindsley because it's more of like a like folk country type place, Americana. I love Third and Lindsley.
Mercy Lounge was
great, but it's closed too, right? We've had a lot of venues close the past few years.
And a lot of them opening up too. It's just one opens up and it's just kind of like
So did the pandemic have anything to do with that or something?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah,
I'd say so too. Yeah, it was very unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah, indeed. Well, Raviner has such a unique and powerful sound. Where does that blend of cinematic, melodic, and hard-hitting rock come from?
Well, and
take it away.
It was an accident earlier what we were talking about, but we were talking about influences. I'm like, I think that's what it is, because I've always had I've founded the band with my ex back in late 2015. And I think where all of Raviner's stuff came from, it was such a blend of like, okay, I love the dreamy, cinematic, kind of synth wave type stuff, but I also love just rock and roll. Because my first band here, I just performed under my name. It was more like just rock and roll, grungy. There weren't any bells and whistles, if you will.
Okay.
And I think Raviner explored some other sounds, some other tones. It got a little darker, a bit heavier.
Yeah, great sonics.
Yeah.
Indeed. Well, so where you're from, and Christian, you're of course from Tennessee, but how does your hometown or environment influence the music you create, and how has that Nashville scene embraced Raviner's sound and style?
Do you want to go on this?
One more time now?
Yeah, so how does your hometown, you being from Tennessee and the things that are around you, and Canberra being from Florida, how did those things, excite you, inspire you, and are any of those sounds within the band, within Raviner? I
think so. So bragging on my hometown and my home state, a lot of the I would say very like pivotal alternative rock, alternative metal bands came out of Florida. Where from Creed to Under Oath to Amberland, like a lot of those bands. So I think all of that was just in the ether. I'd say for me growing up, it wasn't just, it's because, my dad listened to these 90s bands. No, like all of those alternative bands that came out in the 2000s into the 2010s, a lot of them were from Florida.
Okay.
So I know it's a little overly spiritual, but I believe there's a reason for that. There's just something in certain parts of the country.
Yes, ma'am.
World that draw certain sounds and influences out. for me, I've noticed the longer I've lived here, I've started embracing, probably because you kind of have to a little bit, you start embracing some of the more roots genres. I think sometimes that comes out in my vocals and just how I approach songwriting and things like that. But I feel like Raviner, though, we've still been like, nope, we're using nerdy synths. We've never been like, let's make like a Southern rock track. It's just not gonna happen.
Right.
Now for Christian, though,
for me, I guess you were asking what did I experience here that's influencing Raviner, basically is what you're asking. I think for me, it's not so much like a Greater Nashville exclusive as much as it has been just, the decades that I grew up in and what I've been exposed to from my whole musical journey that's been, that's contributed to the, what I have to offer for Raviner.
That makes sense.
More so, yeah.
She's
got hers is it's a unique thing with her from where she's from. I'm not in a country band. I never was exposed like a lot of country music and around the area, which is very prominent. There are prominent rock acts that are from the area,
right?
But they never really influenced me, I guess. Of course, there's personal experiences with bands I've came across and musicians that I've been influenced by whatever local musicians, but it's nothing like an exclusive thing of here. That's does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
because I see, me being a military kid, I grew up around everything. So I always say I'm not a genre snob.
Everything.
Yeah, I'm not a genre snob. So I have friends, always mention them, the Carruthers. They listen to a lot of country music. And I listened to a lot of country music with them while we went fishing and doing all those things like that.
Yeah.
And whether it be, and then their sons, they listen to metal music. They listen to hip hop music. We listen to everything, because it was just like a family affair, of all different races and religions and cultures and things. And so when I asked that question, because I know how much I love music, and I always said that if it's hot, it's hot. I don't care what it is. If it's classical music, if it's whatever, because I can sit there and listen to piano, Joe Sample, jazz piano, and just enjoy myself. I just love music, and I just love when it's good music. So, it's just like listening to you guys and enjoying your music. So that's why I asked that question. And great answer, young lady, young man. Great answer. So do you have a pre-show ritual, before you come out there to calm you down, or is it just you're just a lunatic before you get on that stage?
Wow.
Well, and I'm glad you asked it. We just brought on our new guitarist Nick, and I think the more shows we play, the four of us in this new unit, I think we will start developing like a collective ritual. But right now, we all kind of get into our own modes.
You say right.
Like I can't help but think like our bassist Jordan,
we call AKA Jimmy Hand Grenade.
It's not been for every show, but there's time he just riles himself up. He hypes himself up, but then he releases it on stage. He is a wild performer.
He is a banshee.
But it's awesome. It's awesome, and it's never in a place of distraction.
Yes,
it's earnest, and it serves what we're trying to deliver so well. For me, I do a lot of I'll usually kind of go off in a corner or go off in another room, and I do my own kind of I don't know, deep breathing. I do. He's making fun of my vocal warm-ups and stuff. So I have my own processes.
Right, of course.
Mine, it works for me. Man, I just try to detach myself from everything so I can be on the drums and be in the present moment.
Be focused.
I literally try to be I tell myself, it's going to suck anyhow. From my performance, me telling myself I'm going to suck live has made me better.
That's your process.
I know that's weird, but it is what it is. This is going to be bad. And somebody told me that one time. I remember, I think, yeah, he said, dude, if you suck, so what? You'll never see him again. But and when you but that kind of makes you not put that performance on this higher pedestal,
Right.
and that allowed me to relax. And now I just like I used to walk around all the time, sitting there pacing and hyping up, and I'm just sitting there doing that, whatever,
So anxious.
and just anxious. And it wasn't up until about like 4 years ago, like I mean, and out of the 20 years and the damn near almost 20 years I've been playing live too, well, about like 17 of it. And I've just learned just to really calm down. And I do my stretches. I'm, doing a lot of that and that weird, little hand things to get these, just trying to keep it just cool. And I shut the hell up and just keep.
But we all, have that.
Yeah.
I would think that you'd be weird if you didn't have like little butterflies or that anticipation of what's about to happen.
Oh, I still do, even no matter how.
But the moment that you walk on that stage and then everything starts, it's like you're not thinking about that anymore. You want to make sure you're on time. You're not forgetting your lyrics. You're not doing anything. And Cameron, you speaking about your doing your vocal warming up before the show. When we were with, I know I do my own little thing also, but I just remember Michael Polson from Volbeat, and when we toured with them, I would watch Michael every night, and as he walked through there and just doing his thing, right? I'm just watching him. I was just like, he's getting ready. But that was his process, though. So that's why I asked that question, indeed. And so, we all have different things that we do to get comfortable before we hit that stage and to entertain the people, Right. So that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I still get no matter what, still to this day, I'm always going to have that butterfly.
Of course.
That's a lot of excitement.
That's your baseline.
But I never overhype myself anymore. I try my hardest not to.
Then you waste energy.
Yeah. I'm with you. Everybody has a different process, but no, I understand. I keep it cool and calm, but when I go up there, I'm confident, and then I just let the chips fall where they may. And it's going to be great to them, but I just want to give my best. So I definitely understand that. Now, there's a deep emotional vibe to your lyrics. What does your songwriting process look like, and how do you balance vulnerability with strength in your music?
Yeah. Well, I'll try to answer the first part. In Raviner's history, I'm trying to think back to some of like our earlier songs, like before I met Christian and Jordan, let alone Nick. A lot of it would always start with like a certain lyrical phrase or hook, and it was always this process of like, what does that mean? What's that trying to say? And it always felt like it's almost like following the white rabbit, down the hole or something, kind of trying to see where it's going to lead. And it's usually not until halfway through the writing process, it's like, oh, this is what this song is about. Okay, I understand now. And quite frankly, there have been times, not all the time, but there have been times with Raviner's music, it can be kind of painful. There's times that it's not always, there's those times of like, oh, this song's going to be a banger, this is awesome, or whatever, like the fun part of it. But then for me, sometimes sitting with some of those emotions, it can almost be like an exercising process, like of just trying to release it. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I don't know, I feel weird saying that. That even feels vulnerable to share. It's not always like fun because you are releasing. That's Raviner's theme too. You are releasing. It's a catharsis of those tough emotions and wounds and different things, but hopefully in a healing way that it can be transformed. Because I know this isn't part of the question, but I feel like it's relevant. Like, that's something I feel like sets us a little bit apart from other bands in our genre. There's some bands in our scene that are amazing bands, but they're so like the darkness just stops there. And there's no redemption. There's no healing. There's no like solace or period at the end of the sentence at all. And I feel like that's why I always related to Flyleaf. So I
Flyleaf.
always loved Flyleaf and still do.
Yeah. So you just reminded me of Jennifer Benson from Ignescent. I've had her on the show a couple of times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we know her. Yes, we have played multiple shows with them.
Jennifer,
They're friends of
yeah,
ours.
Jennifer's amazing. She's amazing. One of her managers, Keith Netto,
Yeah.
that's my boy. So, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Man, listen, small word, but Jennifer is really, she's just real, real cool. And just when you're saying those things about, it comes from your spirituality, I would believe, where, you believe that it should go further than that. It's just not this. And, that's just a good feeling thing, though. No doubt about it. That's love.
Mhm.
All right, great answer. So every band has a turning point, right? So what was the moment you felt Raviner truly found his voice and direction as a band? Since you're the architect, correct? If I'm not mistaken, you're the architect of Raviner, correct?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like Raveners had two kind of main chapters. I think those first handful of years were just that foundational process. And I'm so
Right.
proud. I'm still close friends with my former bandmates. John Weiscarver, he's super active in the Nashville rock scene still. And my former drummer, Rob Schallenberger. And so I think those early years is like where a lot of the kind of the moody and the cinematic sounds. But I think that next level up in terms of like energy and bounce and just like that life that I think we're continuing to cultivate,
Right.
that hit during 2020. It was during the pandemic because, as we know, obviously we could sit here and talk about all the horrible things during the pandemic.
Yes.
But for me, it was meeting Christian and meeting Jordan and just setting a new tone for the band. And we've had a lot of challenges.
Right.
We've had multiple guitarists come and go. It's hard keeping a band together, as you know.
But look what you got from that though. And Ro would be on the spiritual side of this.
Sure.
You got Christian. The River
Exactly.
Jordan. Come on, man.
And so I would say 2020 for me, like being the longest member of the band, 2020 was like, oh, this is actually happening now.
Got you.
I hit a point when the pandemic hit, I was like, oh, I guess I'm really not doing this anymore. This COVID thing is happening. Everything's falling apart. Everybody's scattering and going their own way and trying to survive.
Right.
Weirdly, I connected with them. So,
well, young lady, all I know is that you and Christian, you guys are creatives. It never leaves you.
yeah.
No matter what, you may go through this or that, but it never leaves you. So it's always calling your name. Camber, come back. I'm here. And all of a sudden, pow, here goes Christian, So it's those kind of things that happen, it really does. It was meant to be, it's going to be. So I love your vocals, the tone, the tension and release with the songs, orchestration and magnificent musicianship. So it's all, as I like to say, next level nice to me. So is the production all in-house or have you worked with other producers?
We did a lot in-house those first several years. And we were blessed also with some other musician friends that were like, hey, come on by, if you want to use, we had a friend for the Beast EP that had a whole room full of analog synths.
Okay.
They're all featured on that EP. And then it wasn't until later, our self-titled EP, we worked with Colt Caparoon. He is a wonderful producer in town. He has a very prominent YouTube channel too. And then our former guitarist, Matt, he is an incredible producer as well.
Gotcha.
And so he did production on our last two singles. So it was very DIY for the first several years. And then we were like, okay, let's get some help. But now I feel like we're going to start going back to a little bit of DIY again.
Okay.
Because between myself and our bassist, Jordan, he is like a burgeoning producer, very, very talented, super creative. So it's been a mixture.
Well, I just know that just listening to the music, and as I say, the orchestration and the musicianship, it's just really top notch. It just sounds good. Everything is in the right places, and you take us on that ride, as I say, with that tension and release. And I love songs with tension and release in it. And then, your vocals just complement it so very, very well. So as a lyricist, as a lyrical person, I know you play piano also. Do you just come up with melodies in your head, or do you guys, let me speak to all of you, because I don't know who, I guess I'm asking who's doing the writing, who's doing the majority of the lyrics?
The majority of the lyrics, it's very evenly split between myself and Jordan, our bassist.
Okay.
So he's a little bit of a renaissance man musically, because he can write songs really well. And he's, in the past, I would say a couple years or so, he's really gotten into like production and, more from the creative side. I don't think he has an interest in like some of the audio side of things. But yeah, it's between he and I. But the rest of it is a very collaborative effort. In the early Raviner days, I'd usually show up with like a full song. Be like, all right, everybody, here's my song. And then now it's a lot more collaborative. It'll be you and I jamming, or you meet Jordan working on something. It's a lot more of a hot potato process now compared than it used to be.
And Christian, they really can't do anything without those drums.
No.
Those drums are really the foundation. It's the fact you gotta, they gotta keep up, but it's gotta be about the tempo. It's gotta be about Christian, right? That's what it is.
It's the bones. It's the whole entire backbone. Yep.
Yes, indeed. So have you ever had to pivot at all from the EP Beast to the self-titled Raviner to the latest single By the Throat? Have you had to pivot at all, like much, or is it just like what you want and this is what you do? Because I know there's been different members of the band, but how much have you had to change things up to make it right for you or feel good?
So once the self-titled EP came around, that was I feel like it was a very intentionally made EP between myself and John Weiscarver and Rob Schallenberger, former members. We were like, okay, let's take the moody, vibey part of Raviner, but let's be a little more succinct with it.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Let's be mindful of our song structure. Let's be mindful of, hey, like, does this song have to be 4.5 minutes? Like, when does that chorus hit? Like, just being a little bit more, I do think there's a time and place for that. So we were a lot more intentional with that. And that was also the first time we worked with a professional producer, like outside producer, to get another perspective.
I got you.
So that was a huge pivot for sure.
Indeed. Well, the visuals in your videos and branding are eye-catching, most definitely. So how important are visuals with the Raviner experience, and who helps bring those concepts to life?
Yeah. So
it's all Camber.
Camber is definitely the soul.
But you encourage it. But you really encourage
I have a palette as well. So
yeah.
You encourage it too. And I'm so blessed too with my band members. There's never been like a push or like friction, like, oh, well, no, it needs to be this or it needs to be that. There's always been such a level of respect of like, hey, let's let Camber lead that portion of it, because sometimes there's just too many cooks
in the kitchen. Yes, indeed.
So that's for me. So with the self-titled EP especially, I got painstaking with the color palette. It's like, all right, each song has a color, and this is the exact like hex code, and I'm going to follow it for every single social media graphic. I did that. I did the same thing with our last 2 singles as well, like very specific, and they represented something to me. And so, yeah, that's me and all my OCD nonsense.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, when you're able to do that stuff in-house, it saves money, it saves time, it's a whole lot, and you know what you want. So, I get it 100%. Now, for both of you, if you had to describe the Raviner sound in one word, what would it be and why?
You go.
No, you.
One word?
One word.
It's so hard because I feel like Raviner is very yin and yang.
Okay.
Is no, never mind. That's not one word.
Moody.
Oh, yeah.
Moody.
I think I'm going to second that.
Okay, so moody for both of you.
Very good.
Hey, listen, but it works. Look, I feel you. I feel you. So,
Moody.
in a world of constantly shifting music trends, how do you stay true to your identity while still evolving creatively?
Oh, and that's like a slippery slope because I think it is important to be aware of like it's important to be aware of those trends, but yeah, you want to still maintain authenticity.
Right.
You know what? I think it's always a balance. It's always a juggle, and I think it's always intentional. Like I would say I don't know, almost every time like we'll have like a band call or a meeting or Ravener's coming up, this is where we always communicate about those things and talk about things like, oh, I have an idea for this and that, and I'd love to change it up a little bit, but you know, we never want to deter too far away.
I got you. And so, you know, when I asked that question and when the way you were answering that, I think about Outkast, right? So the band, the rap group, Outkast always had a sound. And even when they went to doing the other things, they always had that sound somewhere. So, you know, you never lost that's who they were. So
we try to,
that's great.
I talk about that all the time for us. You know, we try to keep that Raviner sound, but there's ways of making songs like, say, Raviner's a color, I don't know, red.
Mm-hmm.
And we are red always, but there's a way to make it green and blue and purple and black and yellow and all this and that. It's just, staying true to the sound. Like we're in the writing process right now. Excuse me. We're in the writing process right now where we're trying to kind of make different versions of Raviner. But if somebody can always tell, no matter what that version, it's always a Raviner song.
Right.
That's how I've been hell of influenced by bands that do that.
Yeah.
Like 311's one.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And
Deftones is
Deftones.
I think Deftones is one of the greatest examples of that.
That always has a better example. I mean, and that's not just because they're my favorite band.
No, I know. I brought them up. They're a wonderful example of that because you recognize Chino's voice immediately.
Right.
That's usually what I'm listening for.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna recognize that voice.
Yeah. I have to make sure my boy Scott Bowling, his podcast, he loves the Deftones. He's so crazy about them.
Deftones is my number one favorite band in the world.
Yeah, awesome.
Biggest influence, one of my biggest influences.
They're wonderful.
Yeah, so their bass player, when I was at Scott's, I was doing Scott's podcast, and what's the bass player's name? He's got his own band now.
Of Deftones?
Yes.
That would be Sergio Vega.
So Sergio, yeah. So we had
he's not anymore. He's not the bass player anymore.
No, he's not. He's got his own band now. So we were both down there at Scott's doing his podcast. And man, we just had a great talk, Sergio. Now it was amazing. And so we just talked about the Deftones and all kinds of things, man. So it was really, really dope, man. Dope.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Were you ever into Quicksand?
So Quicksand, that's his band.
Yeah, I know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's his band. So we talked about Quicksand. I hadn't heard him until that time. And he's just like, Quicksand, yeah. So I was just like, yeah, dude. And so I went out there and, dove into it and just had a good time, man. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah.
Super, super dope. Had great conversation, had a great with them, and just gave me some great advice about, some online stuff, he and his wife, man. So it was an amazing time. Anyway, it was an amazing time. So what message do you want fans to take away after listening to Raviner? And not just in the music, but in the mission behind it?
The first thought that's coming to mind, and it's surprising me right now, but I feel like I should say it, is it's gonna be okay.
Oh,
That's because people are so highly anxious, and something we're trying to encourage people to do at our shows is to let all of that go.
right, right.
Please be present with us. You know who did that? I saw Under Oath on their tour. I want to say it was like 2.5 years ago. And they did that they did like this kind of introductory thing in the beginning of the show where it was like this guy dressed up in a costume. It was a little weird, but it was like, okay, we encourage everybody to set aside everything, be super mindful, super present. And at first I was like, this is weird. But then I realized that's really important to us as well. Because we're just so distracted and overstimulated and stressed and tired and miserable. And my hope with our music is that maybe it can be like an escape once in a while or a healing experience, or even if it's just a simple, like that's a good feeling for people.
Yeah. I think that's a part of our job that we would want them to be. And this is a thing that I say, I just said it in my last show.
Yeah.
Raviner is the moment. And the people coming there become a part of your moment. And then everybody becomes this one. And so you take that time and you release all your inhibitions and all the craziness that's going on in your world. And you're just able to be free and enjoy the music and enjoy your time. Maybe you learn something. Maybe you're inspired in a certain way. It's just a beautiful thing to have that and have those people loving what you're doing and enjoying the music and singing with you and all those things like that. It's just something different. It's just like we're in another world right now. Embrace this world until you go back out into the crazy world that we are. Because I always say that. Well, let me say this. I always say that the world is the craziest of people in it. So before you have to go back out there and deal with all the lunatics of the world, come in here and get something that's good for your soul, good for your mind, your spirit. And then you'll be able to carry on. It'll take you down the road farther than you would ever think. So, yeah, indeed. I like that. Great answer, young lady. This young lady right here is on point, man. No doubt. So, what do you enjoy more, creating or performing?
Oh, no, that's not fair.
It's not fair. There's some people just like to be in the studio,
Fair.
You know what? I think at least for today, for me, it's performing. I love performing.
Me too.
I love performing.
I do too.
Right.
Well, you know what it is? Because I think once you get to the performance part, it's like, oh, now we're going to let go and have fun.
Right.
And with the creative process, it takes a lot of patience and perseverance, but it's also exciting too. It's fun. Yeah. Oh, wow. But I think to keep it simple, performing, yeah.
Okay, I got you, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, man, I love the creative process, man. It's just this and hearing these sounds and doing this. And I was like, there's nothing like being on that stage, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Being on that stage is amazing.
But I do I love, on the creative side, I love the just, being in a room with people I'm connected with and just getting that spark that brings me back to the reason why I started it in the first place.
Right. Indeed.
That's exciting.
I love it. No, Christian, I agree with you 100%. I love that. Love that. So what does success look like to you guys?
For me, it's just distributing my art to a wide range of people. I'm not somebody, that thinks in terms like, success for me is being in the same level as Foo Fighters or opening, doing that. It's more just getting my music broadcasted to many people and to influence as many people as possible, and and share my experience and then very secondary, I would love to have a full length album. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's something simple. I mean, that's not that mean.
Yeah, that's coming. What are you talking about? That's coming. What do you mean?
Yeah.
I just have to do it, that's all it is.
Success is very subjective from one person to another, as you know.
That's why I asked, yes.
Yeah, and it's for me, from my own personal experience, is to broadcast my music and just having wonderful present experiences. That's what everything this is all about. It's the present. Because everything is about the present moment.
Well, and
most of it.
And piggybacking off of that, like it's hard, it's a challenge sometimes to be very present because we are also kind of bogged down with other responsibilities and other things that we all have to juggle when you are a working musician of any kind. That's a challenge, and I'm so grateful for it. And I feel like there's been a couple of things in my life the past year where I've been able to pivot a little closer to that goal where it could be like, hey, your whole life is music and you're really focusing on the aspects of it that you want to do. Right. And you're not distracted by all this other stuff. Yes. So it's a challenge for sure.
Ah, love it. Love it. Yes, indeed. So now, I know you guys are so humble and beautifully humble. But I want you guys to really, when I ask this question, I always want people to really go into and let it be known, because I want your confidence about who. I'm not trying to lead the witness. I just want your honesty and the real and who you are. So what makes Raviner a must watch and listen?
Oh, that's a fair setup. What was the very last part? A must watch what?
And listen.
Okay. What makes us? I was going to say Jordan.
Jordan. Listen, there you go. That might be it.
Jordan, that's one. That's definitely one of the top three. Yeah, for sure. He might fall off a table. He might. Oh my God! We'll give you a quick kind of like dose of what he's like. We were playing a show in Chattanooga a couple years ago. I look over. He's nowhere to be found. He's walking down the sidewalk with a wireless pack playing, just being silly. He's doing some crazy. He makes up his own dance. It's the DC in him or something. Yeah. We're playing a gig one time, and he ended up standing up on a table. That didn't go so well.
Yeah, he fell.
But he's no, that shit was funny. Sorry, Jordan. But I know you. That's one of them for sure. You go next.
Well, and I feel like a lot of bands say this, but I know it to be true for us. If you're open to it and you accept our invitation to do it, you will have an experience.
Love it.
You will have an experience.
Accept our invitation to do it. Yes. Yeah.
We're being silly about the Jordan thing, but that is an ad.
But that is true.
Jamming with Jordan. Jordan's that guy. I mean, he's doing what he does. Rich used to jump on the speakers and do whatever. He's just the entertainer. So, I was just like, I got you. Take the mic up there with you, You're playing guitar on top of, a stack up there. I was just like, you're a wild boy. I'm too big to get up there and do that. I don't want to fall. Like, they're like, Lord Nelson stage dive. Not going to do it. You're not going to catch me. You're not going to catch the big guy. And then, listen, I got many more shows to do. I was like, I'm not going to do it. Thought about it, but I'm not going to do it. But listen, Ryan, you got to ask him at a show. Just a quick thing. It was at the end of the tour. Yeah. And Ryan and the whole Vengeance band, they were stage diving and they got back up and ran around again because, they performed earlier. And there they come, man, just while Ectomorph was performing. And they were just drop kicking. It was beautiful. I love it.
Oh my goodness!
I'm just saying you can just see the people in the crowd because I was side stage watching the show, and you can just see the people in the crowd like, no. But it was amazing. Ryan and I born on the same day, September 28th. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. But he and Patrick Ryan, one of the best people in the world, one of the great human beings. Anyway, so now I'm very visual, so I just went back there. I was seeing it all again. I was seeing every single bit of it. It was a great time. So what can we expect from Raviner for the remainder of 2025?
Yes. So first of all, we want to, since you mentioned Ryan, we want to thank Ryan because we just signed on with him recently, and it's been a really wonderful experience so far. So we look forward to continuing to work with him and just continue to work with some other people that we've met to just help us grow our band. And we're working on a lot of new music right now. We're hoping to have an EP, a new EP out, hopefully later this year. We will see definitely a new single sooner than later. So we're hard at work right now with all of that. And we'll be out on the road a little bit, off and on throughout the rest of the year. And we've kind of been in a new foundational chapter again, because we just brought on a new guitarist, and we're just kind of letting that unfold.
Okay.
And Nick is bringing such a wonderful new, lighthearted, fun energy to what we're doing. So we're enjoying the journey of that, honestly, and just
awesome.
Seeing where it takes us. Yeah.
Yeah, you're still growing. It's a beautiful thing. I mean,
that's
really
exactly where we're at right now. So
yeah. So now we're almost through here, but I want to ask this question. This is like one of the newer questions that I put into my thing here. So beyond the music, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you beyond the music?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so funny you ask this question. Christian and I, we're best friends, and we're all close friends in Raviner, but Christian and I think we've got too much time on our hands. We end up talking a lot more, pretty much every single day. And we'll talk about stuff like this. We we'll always end up talking about the deep stuff and, spiritual things and cultural things. So I think we're a band of people. We all have our different personalities, of course, but I think we're a band of people that, like, I don't think you can be in Raviner and not have like a deeper appreciation for the invisible things in life.
Okay.
Spirituality and all of those different things. Yeah. The ether. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I know for me personally, that's a huge value. I'm just not a surface level person. But at the same time, I'm also like a very simple person. I work in music. So I have a very busy, overstimulating life. So when it's not music and Raviner or a gig or I'm teaching, honestly, I just want to chill.
Right.
And just take a nice walk and unwind. And I'm like as deep and moody and like philosophical as I can be. It's also like, oh, you're fine. I am also such a simple person. And I think all of us in our band are kind of similar in that way. It's like we come together and you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're really answering the question. That's what I wanted to know. Beyond the music, like I like to go fishing, Yeah. I love when my children are in town. They're in town right now. So, it's like it's a beautiful thing. It's just like I can get away, even though as my wife tells me all the time, she's like, do you always think about music? I'm like, oh, it's like, she's like, stop singing my name.
It does consume you.
It consumes you. Outside of music, I like getting on a kayak and grabbing beers and a fishing rod and just floating down that joker. And then I like to just be outside and stuff like that. When I'm not doing, music stuff, which is me and her also do like a cover gig thing together where we just play like, top 40s or whatever genre.
You guys are busy. Yeah.
But outside of that, I'm doing lawn care and I'm out there, doing that. And
got you.
Simple.
Yeah, simple things. I like history. I like studying about history and stuff like that, and philosophy, and just really just being a simpleton in some regards.
So you say it's simple, but Cameron says you guys like to have some deep conversations. So even though you're saying it's simple, it's still meaningful.
Sure.
Yeah,
I think
and that's a good thing.
We're not surface level at all.
That's the creative brain. The creative brain's like, well, wait a minute, what about this? Well, wait a minute, what's your opinion on this?
Right.
So
and then Cameron, you said something, and I want to go back, and it's just my way of thinking, my perspective, and I got it from somebody else. But here's the thing: you said, hopefully, you guys will have an EP out later on this year sometime. And I, a lot of times I try to scale that back on the hoping, because, people who want to really do something, they don't hope. They just make it happen. And so I would say prayerfully,
right?
prayerfully it's going to happen for you.
I like that way better. That's beautiful. Prayerfully
it's going to happen like that, because you don't have to hope, because you guys are going to make it happen or not happen. So that's what it is. So you don't have to hope about it.
That was actually very encouraging. I appreciate that.
Indeed. No doubt about it. So my last question, as always, is what was the last song you guys listened to?
Oh, goodness. Here, let me think.
Oh.
Oh, who is that? There's like a kind of an up and coming indie pop star. She was on the Tonight Show the other night.
Song gets stuck in my head.
I forgot her name. Shoot. Yeah, because his friend was listening to it, and then I'm trying to think what I was listening. Oh, you're gonna laugh at me. The last song that I listened to today was "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus, because I was with a guitar student and she wanted to learn that song.
Hey, listen. The reason why I ask this question, as I tell everybody, is because we as creatives, there's no telling what we're listening to. You know, it's just not one thing. And we talked about it through this whole conversation. It's just not one thing. So we can get enjoyment from many different places. So that's why I always ask, because you might come up with something that I haven't heard before that I want to go out there and listen to. So that's why
that song I was listening to, and it's like stuck in my head. I wasn't trying to cut you off.
No, you good.
Lola Young.
Yes, I know it's Lola Young.
I'm a fan of that type of genre. I just, the kind of.
It's a good song, though.
It is. It is.
Lola Young.
Yeah.
She's everywhere.
Bessie by Lola Young.
She's everywhere.
And what did you say the title of the song is?
It's called Messy by Lola Young.
Messy by Lola Young. See, I'm gonna have to go check it out. Most definitely.
It's kind of got a.
It's like indie pop.
Yeah, but it's kind of. It's got a little ump in it too. It's some ump in it too. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Well, listen, I thank you guys so much. I really, really do. And so now the floor is yours. Please give my watchers and listeners your support information so they can support you guys.
Yes. So all of our social media handles are under Raviner Band. Mm-hmm. And then our website is raviner.com. So we're pretty simple. Or for hashtags, everything. I'm always so painstakingly careful about this. It's all under hashtag RVNR or hashtag Raviner Band.
Awesome.
We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Tidal, we're on everywhere.
They're everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. And they're amazing.
We don't discriminate.
Yes, indeed. So once again, this has been a really, really great time. And if you don't mind, I'll go through my little thing at the end, because I got to say something at the end also. And just like that, another incredible conversation comes to a close. Respect maximum and appreciation to Raviner for pulling up, sharing their journey, and giving us a deeper look into the heart and soul behind the music, their music. You guys are awesome, and we'll definitely be watching and listening closely. And to everyone else out there, thank you for riding with the big guy with the big show, of course. The Lord, Nelson, that is. And I just want to say, Canberra, the Lord is like from Lords of London, like that. Not like of a godly thing. I just want to make sure I said that to you, because a lot of time, spiritual people are like, you call yourself the Lord. I was like, easy. That's not what it is. Rich gave me this name because he's partially, his dad's from England. So that's what it comes from. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
So I just want to make sure it's proper and right. So, and of course, this is Live and Loud with the Lord.
That's so sweet. You're like, I just need to make sure.
Right. Powered by the CMS Network with 5 Rows ENT. And make sure you follow Raviner, purchase their merch, stream their music, and support real artistry, because they are super, super dope. They no doubt about it. And as always, thank you for taking the time to spend some time with me. And until next time, you guys be cool and remember to lead with love and walk forward with faith. That's just me, You guys be good. Peace.
Turn it up. You're listening to Live and Loud with the Lord, Nelson, that is.